When we were considering looking at implementing focused deterrence locally, we consulted the evidence base and knew that the most serious violence had that kind of element of group dynamic behind it. And we then knew that the intervention itself had to respond to both individual level needs, but also responding to that group dynamic kind of in tandem with that. So when we were looking to define our eligibility, it was really important that we understood the problem. So we had done a lot of work already as a violence reduction network in understanding what violence looked like, but it was the next part in really understanding how networks were driving our local serious violence problem. So we conducted incident reviews, social network analysis, but also we incorporated community and practitioner insights. So we carried out a number of focus groups with key leads and key community members to really support and build upon our understanding of that local network problem and how they were driving serious violence. And then from that point, we got to our eligibility criteria. So for us locally, it's someone aged 14 or over. They have to reside in Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. And then they also have to associate with the groups that we'd identified through that data process and be involved in violence or associated offences themselves. So for us, when we were looking at the evidence base around focused deterrence, we knew that a core component is the deterrence element, and we knew that that had to be certain, swift, and have that group-led consequence as well. So we had to really consider the disruption and enforcement element of that when we were designing the programme, and we knew that we didn't want to be kind of pulling people into that if it wasn't proportionate or appropriate for them at that time. So examples of people who might not kind of meet the eligibility or might be excluded from the programme would be, say, if someone might have met the eligibility in terms of being associated with a network, they might have low-level offending. However, there also might be an exploitation element which is driving some of that behaviour. So that would be a situation where we know that there's other local services and interventions which would be much better suited to that individual. Key considerations for us when we were approaching the design of the programme was to look at ensuring that the delivery was inclusive, it was appropriate, but also importantly, it was racially equitable. So we knew from national research that there can be bias in police data and overrepresentation of our minority ethnic communities within that. We also know that those communities may experience discrimination, inequalities, as well as obstacles to accessing some services. So for us, we knew really early on that we needed to mitigate against that before we even started kind of delivering the programme. So we used multi-agency data to support that. We used police intelligence, but also community and practitioner insights again. So it meant that we had a much more holistic overview of the individual and meant that we weren't then solely relying on police data where we know there can be some issues within there.